Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. Let's continue our series, Bridging World Religions. We'll wrap up our journey in India by exploring Jainism and Sikhism. Let's get Dr. Shabir Ally's thoughts on how the values, principles, and beliefs of these religions align with Islamic principles and values. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shabir.
Pleasure to be on.
So we're focusing on Jainism and Sikhism today. So let's start with Jainism. What do we know about, or what do you know rather about Jainism that you can share with us?
Well, Jainism is a religion that started in India, and it goes back to the teachings of the most important teacher being Mahavira, who lived in about the 6th century BC. His religion is, in a way, a reaction to Hinduism. It incorporates many Hindu beliefs and practices and ideas, and some Hindu deities, but essentially it does not require devotion to any one of the deities. But the central teaching in Jainism is ahimsa, or non-violence, or this is the most distinguishing feature of this religion. And Jainism has not spread much beyond India. Today, the following of Jainism is about maybe 7 million worldwide. And nonetheless, it has its idea of nonviolence has been influential, and it is from this religion that Mahatma Gandhi got his idea of nonviolence and publicized it and made it well known throughout the world.
So what can Muslims, I think you already said the answer, but what can Muslims appreciate about Jainism?
Well, apart from the nonviolence, which is itself something very important that all people can appreciate and practice, we certainly need more of this in our present torn, broken world. But that idea of nonviolence is, of course, connected with the sacredness, the idea of sacredness of life on the whole, which is something that Muslims can appreciate because the Quran teaches us about the sacredness of life. It is interesting to see the extent to which this principle is taken in Jainism. It is taken to the extent that some Jain monks and nuns would sweep the path before them lest they inadvertently step on an insect.
And interesting.
Yes, and for this reason, farming has not proved attractive to Jains, because the possibility of digging up and harming creatures in the ground as one farms is always present. So they've tended more towards trade, for example. Some such extremes would be difficult for people to follow generally, but nonetheless, in seeing this at work, one can appreciate that something is lacking when we go all out and commit acts of violence, whether this is done by terrorists on the one hand, or whether it is done by governments who, perhaps for good purposes, but not as a last resort. They enter into war without proper and just cause. We also see in Jain practice some features that are in common with Muslims. For example, fasting is very prominent in their practices, and on the whole, living a good, moral, decent life with many detailed stipulations is also something that Muslims can appreciate about this great faith.
Definitely sounds like there are a lot of parallels. What about Sikhism? What do we know about? I should keep saying, what do you know about it?
Yeah. And I have to keep saying not much, but Sikhism started with the teachings of a certain Guru Nanak, who was born to a Hindu family in the year 1469. When he was about 30 years old, 1499, he said something that became the cornerstone of the thinking about Sikhism. He said, there is no Muslim, there is no Hindu. And probably what he meant by that is that God does not really care about whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim. This was a sort of response to the intolerance that he saw on both the part of Muslims and Hindus, and he wanted to find a solution to this crisis of faith and to develop a way of thinking in which there is tolerance. Of course, his way of thinking gave birth to another religion apart from Hinduism and Islam, And that too came to be in tension with the other faiths, not by intention, but by the fact that now we have 3 faiths instead of the 2. Nonetheless, he wanted to bring people together and to end this kind of intolerance that is there among people. So his faith developed with the following gurus after him until we get to the 10th guru, the 10th teacher, who then pronounced that he's the last of the living gurus of that stature. And now the teaching will be enshrined in the sacred scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib. And that is thought to be the 11th and final guru, which Sikhs can now go back to and find their guidance. The faith involves certain practices which are well known, like the carrying of the kirpan, but this is only one of 5 Ks. K for kirpan, but also K for kesh, the long hair, and the kanga, the comb that is to keep the hair in place. The kacha, which is a shorts that men wear, such that in case they are ever called out to defend themselves in their communities, they are ready in whatever condition, because at least they have that part covered. And by practicing the 5 Ks, they hold their community together in a unified manner. One of the salient features of the Sikh community is that their sacred spaces always have a kitchen and a place to eat. And their kitchen, referred to as the langar, is open to all and sundry. So
irrespective of faith, culture, everyone's welcome.
Yes, and this is a very staple characteristic of their faith. So I guess your next question to me will be, what can we appreciate about...
What are some overarching principles that Muslims can relate to?
Yes, well, the one principle of feeding is in fact a very important one, and I think this can be recognized and appreciated across the board by people who are not only Muslims, but people across the world's religions. But Muslims in particular can appreciate this principle of feeding others because one of the descriptions of the Muslim believer in the Quran, in the 78th chapter of the Quran, is that Muslims are those who يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. They feed others out of the love for God, and they feed the poor, the needy, and even the captive of war. So nowadays we might see that Muslims are not at the forefront of feeding others. We have in Toronto Muslim groups who go out and feed the streets on certain occasions, and someone is organizing a dinner for an Eid celebration to invite non-Muslims to come in and have a meal. But this needs to become a feature of Muslim communities where we have such kitchens as well, because that's part of our religious teachings. But it's interesting that it is such a staple of the Sikh religion, and that should be a reminder to all of us. It is something that we can appreciate.
It's always nice to see how many more similarities we have with each other than we realize. Thank you very much, Akshay.
You're welcome.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.